This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Welcome to Snob and 6 other people for joining us tonight for the Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weekday evening at midnight Eastern. We talk about guns. So thanks, Snob, for jumping in.
Yep, thanks for the invite.
You been? You did your first show last night?
That was me. I did it Saturday night.
Oh, yeah, Saturday. So how did that go?
It went really good. I was surprised. I had quite a few people watching. Got like 80 views or so far, so I was pretty happy. A lot more than I thought I'd have.
So did you go into it with like I don't know, list or something of what to talk about, or whatever you call that? Like
I kind of went into it with an idea of what to talk about and some stories on it, but it wasn't real professionally produced by any means.
Right on. So Saturdays can be kind of hit or miss on Saturdays. So or Saturday nights can be. How was the turnout? You said 80 people watching it? No,
just I've had 80 views so far. I think once whenever I looked, I had 18 watching at one time. I don't know what the max was. Anytime I didn't pay much attention to that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a lot actually. A lot for our show for sure, and it's a lot for a Saturday show in general.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked to have 18 at once watching.
Yeah, I don't know why YouTube makes it so difficult. They give us really nice analytics on so many other aspects of our videos and our produced content, but on live streams, there's places you can get more data than they give us on the screen here, but all I get is a number like 7 viewers watching us right now, and that's it. Nothing like a little speedometer thing or something that could tell me what the max was, or how many of those are returns or something, because who knows if somebody jumps out and jumps back in, if that's they're covering as 2 numbers for a moment. But anyway, none of that stuff, and I don't know if it would be even useful, but certainly things like they should do a pause. So when you're in here by yourself, you can pause the thing, maybe force it to go to a commercial. They do that on some of their other live platforms. So the tech is there. I think that would be probably the best thing, I think, to give people a way to pause live.
Yeah, even if you just could play elevator music while you paused.
Yeah, like just exactly set up some music beforehand, or they have cards on their other version of live. There is a way to kind of pause it. You can force a commercial, but you can also just set up a bunch of cards, so you can have something like a commercial or a public service or something, and then use it intentionally at a segment of your show, or use it for if you need to step away or something. All right. So Monday, we're going to talk about behind the scenes. Looks like we're making a Pro A comic on the schedule there. And what we got? We're going to talk about Stone Guy and the calendar. So we'll dig into that. But it looks like Angelina jumped in from California. Thanks for joining.
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing, just a show, just a podcast. Episode 641. Not much. Slim, have you joined us before?
Not on the Daily Gun Show. I've been in many other chats, but not the Daily Gun Show.
Right on. Well, I saw you out there and your light was green on the gun channel, so I threw you a link. Thought I was going to be here by myself, so thanks y'all for jumping in. And Ellis told most of our audience he's some kind of crazy voodoo. He's talking about conspiracies, but I think the real conspiracy is how he got all my audience to go over to his show when he, so this messed up when they would normally not want to watch his show, I suspect.
I think it was because Dead Horse was over there was really why everybody's there.
Probably. Everyone has a Dead Horse crush, so.
Dead Horse doesn't go into the Daily Gun Show anymore. He used to.
Well, when you're like a star of a certain level, you don't come below,
Yeah. So sent Gary a link, nothing. So It's the new crew, so we'll move forward without those old people. We'd like we did without Dano and without Smeggy, without Bob. We'll just keep ripping through them. So you guys have been around for a week or so. Get the new crew coming in.
Oh, look, there's Woods.
Hey, folks, how are you?
Oh, okay. We got Woods jumping in from the Pacific Northwest. It says here. I know it's right. I don't know if we got feedback or what, but yeah, he's here.
Mr. Bacon himself.
Thanks for the bacon patch, G. I got that package today.
For buying stuff. That definitely helped. It was a pretty successful effort there on Friday. I really do appreciate everybody that pitched in. And I mean, there's a lot of little bills that creep in, and I like to shove a lot of them off, and they all accumulate. So that's why we're still here. Appreciate it. We're talking about making a Pro 2A comic, and I've been pushing this now for a while. I don't know, maybe in vain. Something I have some interest in, but I was really hoping to get a ball rolling and see other artists, people that like to draw or animate or do something with cartoons and comics and stuff. I'll come to the table and pitch in. I guess there are no one in the Second Amendment community that likes to doodle. Or am I doing something wrong? But how do we get other artists over here to Gun Channels to like participate in a collaborative animated or comic version of 2A stuff?
Well, I'll be honest. I know no artists, and I am definitely not an artist, so I am no help with that.
I mean, I don't think I'm really an artist either, but I know artists. I know artists in the 2A community, so I don't know. Maybe there should be a thing. I know, so because I live in the LA area and past jobs I've had, I'm a member of all these little, like, creative societies and stuff. So they have, you know, meetups and whatnot. Maybe there should be like a 2A artist email list, and then, I don't know, get a group going, push it out there.
At first, I didn't know where you were going. Then I didn't like where I thought you were going. But then I got surprised, and I like where you turned it. So yeah, that would be kind of neat to just maybe reach out to some people, and then if they're not YouTubers or people that use Hangouts or I don't know, whatever the hell an artist might be into, they might not even be online that much. Maybe figure out a way to get a couple of them to effort in the same direction, but not expect them to be able to hang out in a Hangout like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why I said like an email list or something, because, I mean, I feel like the root of the issue, which is the 2A comic thing, would be establishing a network of 2A artists. And I mean, art comes in all different varieties. So if you had a little group going, I mean, I know all you need is another thing on your plate, but I don't know, that would be my like creative answer for the.
Yeah, I'm not looking to do anything, and I'm doing too much of this crap already, because now people are going to think I'm trying to make some kind of thing of my own, and I'm not an artist, and I'm not interested in become one. But I also am not crippled, and I can, at least my hands aren't crippled. I might be crippled mentally, but my hands aren't, so I can wiggle them around in front of a mouse and make colored things happen on a screen. So I'm just thinking there's got to be, like you said, there's art in all different kinds of ways. Somebody might be putting together, I don't know, wood burning. Let's say they like decorative wood burning, and you know they decided to turn that towards a Second Amendment topic or something. Or heck, maybe somebody like making something out of wood and staining it, maybe putting it under glass. Who knows? There's all kinds of artists out there. Is all I'm saying. And I don't know. There's probably ways that we could get creative. My goal is to get something like a heavy metal magazine, a collaborative thing where it just showcases art. Because I think art is like a lot of things where everybody's got their own take on it, style on it, right? And nothing's going to appeal to everybody. But if you put something together that's got a common theme, then at least people can see what's, you know, get an experience of what different people's takes are on it. Maybe open their minds. I think that's what art's for. But I'm also thinking there's an alternative to that, an ulterior motive to that, where some artists might come along and be like, 2A artists, what's this all about? Then, you know, potentially understand a little bit more about what the hell's going on. My other ulterior motive would be if we did get, I think I didn't even realize what I was looking for until you mentioned the email list or whatever. But if we were to get some people together when necessary, and maybe just, you know, on some kind of regular basis in order to always have something on the offensive, but organize people with a common something, you know, here's a two-way rally coming up 2 months from now. Let's get a bunch of artists on board to rally towards making different people aware. Posters, you know, murals, I don't know, cartoons, poems, whatever the heck their art might be. I don't know. I just think that there's something there that I haven't seen, at least. I've seen individual artists here and there, but they seem to just stand there by themselves. People walk by and go, ooh, ah, but I haven't seen them gather. Now, maybe I haven't seen them. So is that a question? Has anybody seen any kind of two-way artists gallery or together, or whatever that would be called?
A friend of mine who owns a Cerakote shop, he did something that was like a pro. I mean, it was a pro-gun art thing because he Cerakoted something for it. I don't know how like crazy into it went, but I mean, there's definitely, you know what, there's one of the reasons why my business is so profitable is because there's a lack of people that are even willing to work in the industry with these companies. I've had people tell me that printers flat out refused to print what they wanted because it had something to do with guns. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it would be worth it to, I don't know, at least know that there's, you know, pro 2A artists out there. But, I mean, that brings me to another little thing, which I guess is kind of in line with this, is that people assume that just because you like guns and stuff, you don't know anything about art or care about art or have any artistic skill.
So basically, you're trying to come up with ways to help change public opinion.
Get louder, Slim. A little bit low.
If I can adjust it, I'm off my laptop. Is that better?
Louder, a little bit better, but not much better. What was that?
I said you're basically trying to change public opinion. You're trying to, kind of like back in World War II when they came up with the propaganda posters and everything to try and turn public opinion to drive the war effort. That's basically what you're trying to do. You're trying to put out the message that, you know, hey, it's a good thing, you should get behind it, and yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't think about it. I was thinking of more like getting some artists, some creative people, and to build something like a war poster, definitely, like propaganda. Here's some pro-gun stuff, like memes or whatever. War posters were just memes for people who had, you know, respect and moral character, right? So it was appealing to their heart. So and not their funny bone or their sarcastic thing. But that's definitely what I was thinking. But now what Angelina's saying, I think, is worthy too, is just to have some pro-gun art out there, at least maybe even a collection of it, because there's certainly some out there. Now that I'm actually putting some thought into it, if you don't care about the flag and you like all that, you know, USA stuff, there's a ton of that. If you call that art, you know, there's a ton of the wooden and the metal and that kind of thing. But then a whole bunch of that has like silhouettes of guns in it or cutouts of guns, and then those people usually do something similar with more gun, you know, straight gun stuff. And I don't know, Cerakoters must do something else, maybe paint motorcycles or something, and they probably put some guns motifs to it, right? I never thought about that though, but I don't know if we need to impress art people necessarily, but just to, if nothing else, appear more like a well-rounded community, have a thriving art thing. But I guess where I was going is I'll oftentimes look for something online and, you know, just notice that there's just, I mean, I don't think I've ever deliberately looked for gun art, but when I'm looking at art and stuff, the only time you ever see a gun is when it's in some kind of knot, or there's children crying about it, or, you know, it's somehow, you know, shown as the epic, you know, evil, violent thing or whatever. It's never, you know, gun being a cop, being a protecting somebody from evil or anything. Or rarely. Oh,
Yeah, I
I
can't.
think about it. As soon as I said that, I'm thinking to myself, what about all the soldier stuff? There's some soldier art that's crazy awesome. Crazy
Oh, yeah.
awesome. What they
Trench
call
art.
that? Trench art. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly.
I find it rather annoying to see those ones with the stupid gun, the revolver with the knot tied in it crap.
It bugs me because the barrel's too long. That barrel would be longer than any revolver ever made. It would be like that thing in the Johnny Dangerously movie, right? That's the only gun that you could ever tie in a knot like that. Yes, a correct knot, like cinch it tight enough to be the actual barrel. Yeah, it makes no sense. And they're supposed to be artists. Yeah. But yeah, even the concept is annoying. They picked the one gun that never is used for anything except maybe shooting at pigs or something.
Well, yeah, with a 16-inch barrel, I don't think you shoot a revolver too much for, you know, anything else.
Well, just even a big giant revolver. No criminal wants to carry around like 7 pounds of metal to have 5 rounds. You know, it's just highway patrol officers back in the 60s, and then, you know, hunters now. Nobody carries around a giant revolver. There is a neat one, and I get to imagine it's probably pro or anti-gun, right? Have you guys seen this one where it's a bunch of gun silhouettes that are kind of hanging like just, I think, in the air, like in a 3-dimensional kind of cloud, but as you walk around the cloud, they look less like a whole bunch of silhouettes of guns, and then they just become one big gun.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Is that
yeah.
an anti-gun thing? Because I thought that was kind of cool.
I don't know if it's anti-gun. I can only assume so because it's in a city, and you know it's gun. But there was also one that was like supposed to be like those, I don't know, electric bikes that you could put a quarter in and get one, or like maybe a shopping cart or a stroller or something where you know put in a quarter and get the thing to use for some amount of time, and then you plug it back in, you know, to return it. They had that one on, I think, in Chicago or New York, where it was supposed to look like AR-15s, and you would put a quarter in and get one. It was supposed to like be anti-gun and supposed to piss everybody off, and they took it out right away because it pissed everybody off. But I thought it was kind of cool.
I mean, I thought it was a cool idea if they'd have just had real guns there.
I was like, that's actually kind of cool. I mean, we have fire extinguishers put all over the place. We put them behind glass so people don't fiddle with them. Like, would we be wrong with having a bunch of, you know, tools for security all over the place, you know? Now, have somebody, you just put your RFID chip that's embedded in your wrist, or your barcode that's tattooed on your wrist that would let you in if you're part of the state.
Well, only Patriot has that chip in his arm.
Yeah, well, he's probably the one you want to have the AR-15 too.
Yeah.
And
Well, one other. Oh, go
Okay.
ahead. One other kind of art you didn't kind of mention much, but like even the pro gun T-shirts and stuff where they take the guns and make different designs, this stupid love one and all that. Those are kind of neat.
What about like
Yeah, different ones.
stickers?
Well, it depends on who makes them.
I don't know. Is that art? I guess it's art if you can like walk up next to somebody and squint because it's all little usually.
Right.
But I guess it is. I mean, it's art for us. I'm just saying, as far as like the world, I don't know. Maybe. I'm sure if there was, I don't know, some kind of clever, like the pandas with the ARs, or pandas with
Yeah,
pistols.
like the Banksy thing.
Huh?
The Banksy thing, isn't that what that is?
I don't know what that is, but that's the kind of thing that, you know, some 16-year-old kid would put that on a T-shirt, and then all of a sudden everybody thinks it's the coolest thing. I don't know if that makes it good or bad, though. You know, it's...
I don't know, bro.
All right, well, so making a 2A comic. I don't know where else to take it, so we'll keep moving unless anybody else wants to throw anything else in it at that topic. I'm going to keep kicking it around. If somebody wants to do it, at some point I'll quit doing it and I'll do something else, but, you know, we'll keep kicking it around. Let's see, we're going to go on to the member of the day, which is it Yankee? What do I have on this open? No, it's Stone Guy. So Stone Guy 223. Nobody in here knows who that is.
I don't.
No.
No,
So
not.
yeah, Gun Channel's been around for 5 years, coming on 5 years. I think Stone Guy was in the first group. He was definitely in the second year and maybe into the third. So he's been around for a while, but then he left. He was a cop, and I think he was like a cop part-time and worked his own jewelry. He worked at a jewelry store. And I don't remember if he owned the jewelry store or like was just a jeweler there, but he was some sort of a jeweler. They would make jewelry, and then worked at was some kind of detective or something. So he had a lot of insight, and like a lot of cops, he had his cop training, but not much else. So he had a lot of opinions and brought a lot of insight from that angle. And then every once in a while we'd have, I don't know, talks about other stuff that he could talk about his knowledge of metals and art, I guess, once in a while. So anyway, Stone Guy, you'd, I think people would recognize his name though, right? You've probably heard people say, oh, that's like Stone Guy, or Stone Guy used to do that, or something like that? Or have you not even heard Stone Guy around the Gun Channel's water cooler?
I've heard the name before.
I must be too new because I've never even heard it before.
Yeah, that's what'll happen, I guess, because he hasn't been around to kick his stuff up. But basically, he would hang out in Matt and Yankees chats quite a bit back in the first years of Gun Channels. The first years, I guess, it was a little different. We had the primetime chats. That's been really consistent throughout the whole thing. Matt has had a Wednesday chat forever. And just, some of these other people have had long time running primetime chats. But back in the day, the thing would be to have an after chat. So after the primetime chats, we might have a big audience, hundreds of people, and then somebody would have an after chat, and a bunch of that audience would roll over into the after chat. And typically, whatever they were talking about in the first chat, they would just continue talking about, or elaborate on stuff, or start to have bigger arguments and stuff. So they got pretty crazy most of the time. Very topical, though, not so much wandering like some of the late night stuff is lately. It was pretty much focused on whatever they were talking about before, because there were so many people that wanted to be part of these live conversations. It was literally like people were waiting in line to get in on the conversation. So it was as if, there was this conversation and people were walking up and being part of it and contributing, saying their point, and then maybe having to leave, and then somebody else was already there waiting, still waiting, I guess, to jump in and be part of it. I don't know. It was an interesting thing. Anyway, Stone Guy was responsible for a lot of those after chats, and he was a character. He would fall asleep because he had a lot to do. He would fall asleep in the chats, and for somehow, I don't know what the hell, he would sit on some sort of a chair without a back on it. So he would be sitting in like a desk chair without a back, and he would just lean back. So one minute he'd be there, and then he'd be back, and then you'd ask him a question or something. He'd be like, all right, what? And then he'd sit up out of nowhere, and he was just, he was unique in that respect. Half the time he'd lean back like that and fall asleep. Then he'd just be gone for half the chat. And then for some reason, after a while, Matt and him got this little thing going where he would say something risque or whatever at the end of Matt's chats, and then Matt would say on that note. So if you've heard Matt refer to on that note, that's all about Stone Guy being weird at the end of Matt's chats and everybody digging, like a 10-year-old, oh, we said a bad word or whatever. So yeah, Stone Guy definitely a big influence. He left a couple Gun Channelisms around, and yeah, certainly a real one of the main flavors of Gun Channels for a couple of years. So that's why we go back and talk about them. If it's interesting, awesome. If it ain't, let me know. So I'll quit blabbing about stuff like that. And then we'll go into, I guess, the events. No, that error means yes. So we'll go in and look at Gun Channel's events over here. You all can talk. You're members of the panel. I'm going to do a 20-minute show where I talk the whole time. This will turn into a 20-minute chat if I have to talk, because I don't. It's supposed to be a conversation, so feel free to jump in. Looking at the calendar over here, NRA Carry Expos this weekend. I don't think anybody here is going.
Wait, where is it? That's not this weekend.
Virginia. What?
It's September.
Far from me.
Oh, that's not this weekend. I'm sorry. That's September 14th. A little while away. So you got time to go.
No, I'm not going. But I am thinking about gun rights policy.
All right, so gun rights policy is on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. The weekend before is the bullpup shoot. So would you go a week early and drive all the way across Illinois to Iowa and go to that shoot?
No.
Manticore Arms will be there.
I don't know who that is.
They make the transformer rail and that other stuff.
Well, I mean, I'll go to Chicago to do Chicago things and gun right things.
Is Chicago things like getting shot while walking down the street? Because I'm pretty sure that's what happens there.
I have not been shot in Chicago yet.
Chicago things are like going to the water and looking at that, I suppose, but definitely eating pizza.
Chicago things are pizza, the Cubs. I want to go in the Hancock Tower because I've been in Sears Tower. And then I want to ride that water taxi and some other stuff. And then like hanging out with family.
What's interesting, if you've been to cities, is Chicago's just flat. So I don't know what New York's like. I've never been there. But the cities I've been to, most of them got terrain. And Illinois is on whatever that flat glacial plain is, you know, the Midwest. So unlike pretty much all the cities, you don't have to worry about like hills and crazy turns. For the most part, it burned down one year, so it's all grids. So it's a pretty easy to city to navigate. And if you're just like into cities and driving around them, I don't know, all that crap about murders and all that. Obviously, it's not every square inch of a massive city. I think it's it's not our fifth biggest city anymore, but it's pretty big. You know, you can drive around and experience a lot of neat stuff. Chicago is sort of the middle of the country, so it's not heavily influenced in anything, really. I think, from what I remember of it, it's sort of an interesting town to drive around, but it's also interesting and boring too. It's not like it's known for anything except a big tower you can drive up or fly, you get up in and look at it, and then there's some stuff on the lake. There's like a submarine on the lake.
I don't know. I like the cemeteries, like Al Capone's grave and stuff like that was pretty cool to see. I don't know. I see like weird stuff. So.
Oh, I never thought about Al Capone stuff. Maybe there's some kind of Al Capone gun thing.
Yeah, dude. There's this like club he used to go to all the time that I really want to go to, but I hate bars and drunk people, so it's gonna be hard.
My wife actually lived in Chicago for a couple of years after she left California before she moved to Oklahoma.
How old? What kind of age time? Or what kind of ages?
I don't know. We've been together 10 years, almost 11, I guess. So before that.
As an adult, though?
Oh, yeah, as an adult. Sorry, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so she probably, I don't know. I have no idea what it's like downtown. All I know is pizza, but I'm sure.
She worked on an ambulance there, so.
Really, on an ambulance, in Chicago?
Yep.
Oh, man, there's a movie about that. What's the name of that movie about an ambulance?
Isn't that pretty much like ER?
Oh, she was 23. She just put it in the chat.
Chicago PD or whatever it is. What the show called you talking about?
I used to watch a lot of ER.
Okay, so that was the Gun Rights Policy Conference. After that, it looks like is the Tri-State Full Auto Shoot. Oh, yeah, just not put that one in here. That's in the Panhandle of Oklahoma. That's on the same weekend. Then you got the Southeast Outdoor
Press Association.
Thanks. Conference down in somewhere. I think it's one of the Carolinas, but I don't remember. In October, got the Knob Creek Machine Gun Shoot, which is another machine gun shoot that's not as good as anything in Oklahoma, probably, on the 12th. And then you got the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers show that if you watch, does anybody ever watch hang on, I can't think of the name. I'm trying to think of it.
That's like a hunting thing, right?
It's basically SHOT Show without the stuff that's kind of boring from SHOT Show, like all the zippers and foreigners and.
The outdoors thing.
Yeah.
What state's that?
Gun Blast. Does anybody remember Gun Blast? Used to almost be a big channel on YouTube for a minute, and then they got kind of big, but they.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah, I remember them.
Gun Blast goes to this one. That was their thing. That was like, they would get access to cool stuff that was new before anybody else, because they went to this show months before SHOT Show. And it was always kind of neat. I was always jealous because I wanted to, and I could never afford to go because it was in a different town. It was usually somewhere east of the Mississippi. I think they were from somewhere down south, so there was driving distance from those guys. But anyway, they always had a lot of cool videos and stuff from there. So anyway, that's on October 16th, and then we got Big Sandy on October 19th, which is out here in Arizona. It's another machine gun shoot. It's a little different because it's not. You can go there as a spectator, but it's really just a bunch of enthusiasts, people that own machine guns and go out, and they've been doing it for decades, and they just go out there and have fun. They just allow other people to watch them. It's not a for-profit really kind of thing. It's just on private land, and it's got a camp to be there, so it's kind of an experience. So we put stuff in the calendar on gun channels, and that's we talk about it on Mondays. And I always mention we do that for a couple of reasons. One, hopefully nobody does, but eventually somebody will start to post their own events that they might be interested in over here. You'll notice that Cycle Camp does it for things like the Connecticut Citizens Defense League, which helps out a little site like that. Well, I don't know how big that site is, but I'm assuming they don't get 30,000 views a day. So if you got somebody out there that you'd like to help, not only can you get it in front of eyeballs of human beings, but more importantly, you get it in front of those robot eyeballs that Al Gore built that tell the internet, what to recommend to other people. So use the internet. It's a tool, and we need to master tools in order to make change, right? So that's what we talk about on Mondays. And it's like John jumped in. Thanks for joining.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for the invite.
You bet. So, what else do we got today? Let's see if we probably got a gun shop in here.
Yeah, what do we got for gun shop of the day?
Gun of the day. Gun of the day. Runner guns.
Yeah, I'm grabbing a history link so you guys can start getting a head start on that.
That's where we stayed whenever we went to NRA. Was in Mc Kinney, Texas.
Really?
Yeah. Just because we were too lazy to get a or too poor to get a motel room because we didn't do it in time downtown.
Oh well, McKinney's fancy town, so
yeah, it's a neat downtown.
So I was driving from where the hell was I? I was driving south the first time. No, I was driving from Oklahoma down to the Gun Rights Policy Conference. That's what it was.
Where was it?
This what?
Where was the conference that year?
So this was last year. The conference was in December in Dallas, and I was driving down from Oklahoma, and this is where Flippy lives. So he had given me some suggestions, and this is not one he gave me. I had actually pulled off the side of the road because I was going to go look at the whatever he texted me or whatever, and wherever I pulled off, and the Google show me, until it told Google to show me gun shops. There was these like 2 gun shops right across the street. So this is one of them, and I forget what the other one was called. Something about females and guns or something. But anyway, this is kind of a neat shop. It's specifically ARs, and they just had some neat stuff on display. So first off, they had this table, which is just a bunch of red. Actually, those might actually be receivers. I don't know what they are. They look like they got holes and stuff. So those might actually be receivers. But anyway, they were using them as trigger demos, and that's probably what this white thing is. You can slam the trigger without raking everything. And then grip demos, and then I guess stock demos. And I thought that's pretty cool. Has anybody ever seen a shop that had something like this?
Not this much, but I have seen like one.
I mean, I've seen shops where they might have this many in the display cases, here and there and the other place, but never put on like this and in such a cool way. And anyway, I thought this was a really interesting way to offer customer service at a level where, you'd want to come into this shop. There's a reason to come into this shop and hang out for a while. And can you imagine, I don't know if people think about it, but when they have something like this, the employees, if they're worth a shit, are aware of the people that come in and fiddle with all those stocks. So very much like an instructor or somebody who hangs out at a shooting range all day, a range officer or something, you're going to get a lot of experience with people's, reactions when they pick up these things. So I think, a store could really think about doing something like this. You'd get so much feedback from it. It's really cool.
So that's,
go ahead.
Is that all they sell there? Is AR and AR parts or other stuff
I
too?
remember right. I mean, I got to remember the pictures here. I've been to a lot of shops. I'm pretty sure it was, they might have had a gun or two, or a pistol or something, but I'm pretty sure it was like an AR shop. They had this thing, which I thought was neat. Again, trying to maybe bring in somebody who's not quite sure of something that can point right at the part. This is genius. I don't know why most shops don't have something like this, or at least a poster, right? To kind of just get you right to what you need. I think this is actually better than a poster, honestly. It makes your shop cool. And there's just something different about being able to see that pin, for our eyeballs and stuff, than to see a stupid little rectangle on a poster, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure when somebody comes in there looking for a part and they point to it and say that part,
exactly,
it helps them a lot.
So
That would help me immensely.
I mean, if you knew this shop was in town, right? There's one distant from you. This is the kind of stuff that makes you go to this direction, or maybe you even decide to go a little further. Again, to give you an idea of how much stuff they got there. Here's my van. Yeah, AR parts, silencer thing, kiosk. They had some body armor. There you go. So what I started doing is having the GPS take me to places, and then I would do a screen capture and then put that in as my last page of my little description in Instagram when you do this little multi-page thing. So that way I give them sort of a little mini Google Maps type of thing in Instagram. Tag it to them and help spreading the word about their shop and get more of their tags out there. Again, trying to remember that these things are just tools, and there's tools made for little kids to operate. And if there's 6 people efforting towards something, if you're the 7th, that's pretty good odds. So if there's 2 people efforting and you're the 3rd, that's even better odds. You never know, so keep efforting. That's our gun shop of the day, and now we can look at some history.
A pretty cool shop.
Yeah, I was impressed. And that's one of the reasons I really like just dropping in and finding shops. I mean, it's neat to get recommendations from people, and I've gotten great recommendations from people, but some of the neatest shops, some of the most impressive shops I've just found, just moseying along, and they just happen to be there. For example, though, with that one, Flippy, I pulled over to get the recommendation. He gave me a couple. One of them that he was like, oh, and I'm sure this place is cool because I've done a lot of business there and blah, blah, blah. Like as soon as I walked in, they had a sign that said no pictures, right? Like the first thing you do see when you walk in the shop is a big sign that says no pictures. Like they go out of their way to make it the first thing you see, like in front of any branding or anything. So I've seen that sign a lot. So I still asked the manager if it's okay, and he had like a fit, like blah, 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 blah. So you know, you never know. So sometimes I do get good recommendations. Sometimes people inadvertently send me someplace like that. But yeah, it's neat to find a shop like that I would have never thought. I've heard of shops that do all AR stuff. I've seen a couple, but this one, yeah, really impressed me with some of their displays and the way that they were kind of aware of what people might need, right, as a customer.
I got a question on that fact. Well, it's kind of 2 parts. One, why do they care if you take pictures of their stuff? I mean, if you're just, there's some reason? And 2, whenever you ask them, did you tell them, you're a pretty decent sized YouTube channel still, so they just still not interested in free publicity?
I didn't get along with that guy, the way he said no. So why would you say no? One, if somebody just comes into your store and is a Yahoo, number one, maybe they're like anti-gun and they're taking pictures to who knows what, let your imagination wander there. But if they're media and they're taking stock pictures, so the next time something horrible happens, your gun shop is on the main page of the store or the story, even though you had nothing to do with anything. So that would be another concern. Another concern if somebody's even trying to be pro-gun, but they take pictures of all your security stuff, that's not necessarily a good idea. So whenever you do take pictures of a shop, better to take more floor than ceiling, because number one, nobody cares what the ceiling looks like on the internet, right? And number 2, you're less likely to get all their security cameras and stuff. So there's no need to help anybody out. And if you make an effort at it, maybe even you mention it, as you're asking to take pictures if they look reluctant. But that's a couple of things that come to the top of my head. It could just be an employee thing. If I was in a store, I wouldn't want somebody taking pictures of me, So
there's a little validity to it as well as a little.
Oh no, there's a ton of it. And the guy had a giant picture there. But at the same time, I'm the king of the internet. The guy should let me do whatever the hell I want.
A little validity plus a little paranoia.
No, let them be paranoid. It's their business too, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
They want good pictures of their shop, not weird ones or something. But the guy just did it in like a way that just bugged me. So, whatever. We were gonna look at history.
I just want to say the first piece of history. This was the first time tonight I was at the U.S. Open.
Right.
So that was pretty cool.
In 1776, the Americans were defeated by the British at the Battle of Long Island, New York. The American forces, composed of Continental Line and militia regiments from several states, attempted to hold back a well-coordinated attack by the British Army. So thanks a lot, John. How do you justify that?
You're welcome.
Says, while most state units gave a poor showing, often running away upon enemy approach, this was not always the case. American General Lord Sterling, commanding a brigade of Maryland and Delaware regiments, blunted their advance long enough for other troops to safely withdraw. So Maryland and Delaware were the only 2 that had balls stand up in British that day, today, in 1776.
And today, Maryland's balls are shriveled up inside.
No, they've been fighting longer than you. New York. They were
New York is
running
lazy.
off while you were running away. So
New Yorkers are lazy. What do you want?
let's see. In 1859, some guy struck oil at 69 feet in Titusville, Pennsylvania. That was the world's first successful oil well. Source of crude or petroleum, opened up an inexpensive source of power and quickly replaced whale oil lamps. In a few decades, oil drilling had grown all over, and they quit killing them whales, I guess.
On that, I do live in the home of the first oil well in Oklahoma. Is the town I live. Just a little interesting information.
You know what year by any chance?
Oh, I've seen the sign a million times, but to tell you the truth, I don't remember.
Well, how about this? Do you remember, is it 18 or 1900s?
I don't know. Give me 5 minutes and I'll tell you.
Okay, I was just kind of curious. So this says 1859. You know, if it was 1862, that'd be super interesting. If it was 1962, that'd be interesting in a different way, right?
Well, it's a little newer or a little older than that.
I assume. It was probably before it was a state, too. But
1916, Romania enters World War I.
Like what?
Romania enters World War I, 1916.
It was all. Oh, go ahead.
No, say what year was it?
August of 1889, site of Oklahoma's first oil well, Chelsea, Oklahoma.
Okay, so this one was their first oil well was 1859. So is it literally 30 years later they were already digging in Oklahoma?
Yep.
That's kind of neat.
I really like this one. In 1901, in Havana, Cuba, U.S. Army physician James Carroll allowed an infected mosquito to feed on him in an attempt to isolate the means of transmission for yellow fever. Days later, he developed a severe case of yellow fever, helping his colleague prove that mosquitoes can transmit the sometimes deadly disease. Pretty impressive considering 1901, there's a chance you're going to die.
Heck yeah.
That's some fucking dedication to something.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, you don't hear about him. You do hear about Walter Reed. So 1908, Lyndon Johnson, 36th President of the United States, was born near Stonewall, Texas.
1956, the nuclear power station Calder Hall in the UK was connected to the national power grid, becoming the world's first commercial nuclear power station to generate electricity.
Well, this is neat. In 1918, Nogales is the town with the international border crossing between here and Mexico, right? In Arizona, Nogales is the big border town.
Yeah, that's the one that's always on the news.
Well, it's the only one in Arizona, right? We only have one. So it's at least the big one. And it's just south of Tucson, like an hour. So it says that in 1918, there was the Battle of, I didn't even know there was a battle down there, the Battle of Nogales, Battle of both Nogaleses, as it is known. And this is 1918. So our infantry was cavalry still. And a bunch of soldiers were stoned. Or no, stationed in Nogales. It's been a whole different story. We're stationed in Nogales. The Mexican soldiers were an armed militia. Were in Nogales, Sonora. So both towns are called Nogales. So it doesn't make it easy. So we were on the Arizona side. They were on the Mexico side. Battle is notable for being a significant confrontation between U.S. and Mexican forces during the border war, which took place in the Mexican Revolution in the First World War. All right, it's not that interesting, except that it happened south of me. I didn't even know there was a battle down there. It happened today in 1918.
1962.
Oh, shit.
What?
Oh, sorry, I finished. I just read the end of the paragraph. As a result of this battle, the U.S. and Mexico agreed to divide the two border communities with a chain-link border fence, the first of many permanent incarnations of a U.S.-Mexico border wall between the two countries. So the first border wall in Arizona was the one between the two parts of Nogales here. I wonder if there's any piece of that left as a historic chunk. Because it's still chain link in a lot of places. But that would be from 1918, so it'd probably not be the same fence. Okay, what were you saying?
Oh, in 1962, United States launched the Mariner 2 space probe with an Atlas D booster. Mariner 2 passed within 20,000 miles of Venus on the 7th coast same year.
In 1908, Lyndon B. Johnson was born today.
You upset that.
Oh, he did? I didn't
I
hear
was going to say, that's two presidents born today. No.
I didn't hear him, I guess. I was probably looking for my thing.
1967, Beatles manager Brian Epstein dies.
1928, 15 nations signed the Kellogg-Briand Peace Act, known as the Pact of Paris, outlawing war and calling for the settlement of disputes through arbitration. So that clearly worked.
Yeah, it was an attempt. 1984, Reagan announced the Teacher in Space project. When are you going to space?
Oh, I would go tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure I'm too fat and old. There's probably not any bacon up there.
Wasn't there a teacher on the Challenger?
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember it vividly.
Back when teachers had to be in shape. So you don't think that nowadays they'd be like, we've got all these fit people up there. We really need to see the effects of a normal person that just goes up there and eats a shit ton of bacon and hangs out.
I'm for it. If hopefully the NSA is listening, I'm for it. Let's do it.
Like, we're willing to bring up like 100 pounds worth of activities for you to entertain yourself, but mainly we want you to hang out and look at the Earth, or maybe look at stars and eat some bacon and hang.
I could do weightless bacon. I'm good.
He drinks bacon. He doesn't eat it.
You would set the bacon up just hovering in weightlessness, and then approach it like one of them big giant spaceships. Tractor
Like
beam.
You guys have probably seen the Simpson episode with Homer floating around eating donuts.
That's what I was fixing to reference.
You'd have to pre-cook all the bacon because you can't cook bacon up in space. You have to pre-cook it all.
Could you imagine how bad the grease pops would be in space?
Exactly.
Like, what happened to the space shuttle? It's bouncing all over. 1997, there was a report on the U.S. nuclear arsenal broken down to the number of nuclear weapons in each state. New Mexico was first with 2,800. Georgia was second with 2,000. Washington State, 1,600. Total stockpile at 12,500, of which 8,700 were described as operational. 97, that's after they killed our 16. So we would have had, 16 40 kiloton intercontinental ballistic missiles. Arkansas would have had 16, and Kansas would have had 16. I guess they all got taken out in the early 90s, so that's how you guys get to compete.
I didn't know that we had 1,600.
I'm guessing that's, I don't know what that could be. Unless they count Navy docked there? I don't think we had that many strategic, like, offensive or defensive nukes, did we? I mean, is there such a thing as a defensive nuke? We must have moved all our nukes to be littler rockets or something.
In 2003, Mars makes its closest approach to Earth in nearly 60,000 years, passing only 34.5 million miles from Earth.
Wow. What year was that?
2003.
Because just the other day, they said that the moon was the closest since 2003. So that must mean 2003 was still closer, right?
This was Mars, not the moon. Did I say the moon?
No, I was thinking the moon. You said Mars. Okay. They're both got an eminent, and they're both, outside. Yeah. Anything outside the dome is fake, so it doesn't matter. It's just a light.
That's all the interesting history I can find.
Yeah, there's always a lot in here, but it takes a minute. But we try to talk about history in case you go to the gun shop or hanging out with people and you just want to talk about something interesting that isn't based on what the agenda-based news sources are handing down for you to talk about that day. Looks like 3 Medal of Honors were awarded yesterday, or today, sorry. All right, what is this last one? How about this one? 2008. I don't know, a GCG Dallas was deployed as part of the U.S. Navy 6th Fleet. What's a GC? What's a CGC? Something carrier? Coast Guard
cutter.
Coast Guard cutter Dallas was deployed as part of U.S. Navy 6th Fleet, delivering 76,000 pounds of humanitarian relief supplies to the port of someplace, Georgia. That country was attacked by Russia as part of Operation something or another. She was the second military vessel to deliver relief to Georgia.
Now, I just want to stick a quick piece of history in there. It's been 5 days since G-Webs shoved some bacon in a marshmallow.
I love that, by the way.
That's an important piece of history, so don't forget.
Life hacks.
I literally watched that hoping you would actually put bacon in actual marshmallow, and then you fed it to your dog. Nice work.
Yeah.
That's like being rickrolled with a puppy, so you can't get mad because it was the
Yeah, it was a puppy. I totally was like, I need to know how to do this, and you got me good.
All right, well, I think that's it. We talked about a member of the day. We talked, taking pictures of what here? What's going on? We talked about the gun shop today. We talked about other things, and I guess we're about wrapping it up. Thanks for everybody for jumping in. Anybody want to plug anything before we head out? Anybody got any projects cooking? Anything simmering? Anything on the stove?
Buy things from owlandanchor.com.
What? Why should we buy things over there? Are they even made in this country?
They're made in this country, and the code Gun Channel gets you 20% off.
But
Awesome.
I heard that you get all your designs from foreigners from like Europe, and these are metric designs.
All my designs.
That's what I heard. That yeah, you might have these might be U.S. made decals, but the designs are outsourced by Europeans. Is that true?
On the wall. I don't know if you remember this thing that used to happen called the Smeggy Cave, but some designs actually were born during Smeggy Caves.
Has anything been birthed in a tater tube?
Yeah, I think the ammo flags were birthed in the tater tube.
There you go. So not only can you hang out on Allen Anchor and buy stuff that's created and made here, but you can also watch it being whatever that's called, created, made.
Born.
Oh.
Fine.
Hatched.
Snob, you did your show on Saturday. Going to keep doing it? Was it good?
Yeah, I think I'll do one this Saturday too. I'll probably try to do it somewhat regularly.
John Z obviously isn't doing anything. Ran out of here. Tails between his legs. Gary, anything coming up?
Oh, not anything upcoming the next couple of days anyway.
Right on. Well, thanks for jumping in. And notice you always jumping into, well, not always, but you jump into quite a few chats. So I'm imagining that's one of those things that I think as a person who jumps into a lot of chats, people don't necessarily think about is that when you're in a bunch of chats, you kind of help stir things up. Not that's the right word because you're not an instigator, but you're able to bring insight from other chats or other discussions to, the next one. And I think that I've found that sometimes that, let's say people are going to talk about XYZ and people have already talked about XYZ. So you can just say, hey, we already talked about XYZ and we came to this conclusion or we looked it up and so. And that lets this conversation get a little bit further. So I appreciate that. And I'm assuming that happens once in a while. And thanks to anybody who jumps around and hangs out in more than one clique or one group out there. And I don't know, Gary, you jump around a lot of chats. It's fun, right? Different.
It is, yes.
He's kind of a chat hopper.
Yeah, well, there's a ton of people that'll be more than happy to have you jump in. Doesn't cost nothing to ask them once, lightly, if you want a link. And, a lot of people just put links out there. Slim, putting anything else in a glass box? Anything else? What's in it?
Not for a little while. I still trying to find ammunition for the current thing in a glass box.
Right on. Well, it's been kind of cool. I didn't realize. I didn't know you were putting the stand together. I didn't know. Did you say anything about it was going into a box?
I don't think I put a picture of the box up until it was done. The problem is I was looking at different pre-made stands, and of course, most of them, the way they hook onto the gun is you just slide it over the magazine well. And obviously, because that doesn't have an attachable magazine, you can't use a standard thing. So I'm like, I'll just throw them together. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, if I really want to dust this thing, I have to worry if somebody comes over touching it. So I'm like, I'll put it in the box.
Yeah, I think that looks cool. Plus, it draws your eyes to it. Just sitting on a shelf or something, it'd be like, yeah. But when it's in a glass, it's like, what's that thing in a glass? Why is it in a glass? Oh,
It must be expensive if it's in a glass.
well, it kind of frames it, So yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
That's really fancy.
John, jumped
What's
out.
up?
What you got going on? What's happening?
Not much. Just trying to find a parking spot because I'm exhausted.
Oh, you're out working right now?
I worked today, and been working since, I've been out of my house since 7 a.m. And went to the U.S. Open, took my aunt over there, and I'm trying to find a spot to park. Other than that, I'm trying to come up with some ideas to make videos with, but nothing's come to fruition yet. But I'm working on it.
Right on. Well, thanks for jumping in.
Roger
And,
that.
it's always good to have insight from the other side of the Mississippi and from deep inside of the city. We talked to Bacon yet? What flavor?
Yeah, we just have we start up school tomorrow. The actual kids and all that.
Right on. Well, thanks for jumping in. Do you got time? You gonna jump into the after chat, or you gotta go to bed?
Yeah, for a minute.
After chat assumed. Let's see if there actually is an after chat. Something happening after this chat that is also live, and it looks like there is. Dead Horse has a chat over there on the Gun Channel side. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, you have no idea what we're talking about. We simulcast this show over on gunchannels.com. It's a community we built a few years ago. It's a social platform, except that it's all about guns. And right now there's a guy called Dead Horse is his username. He's got a channel called Show and Tell. And no, he doesn't have a thing listed. He just listed our show. I guess I didn't do it. So yeah, I never posted our own show. So I guess there is no after show. So I was wrong. So anyway, might want to head over to Gun Channels after a bit to see if anybody can about it. And I guess with that, we will see if anybody's got a quote.
I have a quote. Today's quote is, Americans have the right and advantage of being armed, unlike the people of other countries whose leaders are afraid to trust them with arms. James Madison.
Pretty good.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.